GT Countdown. Top 10 most anticipated games of E3 2009.
E3 is back, in a big way. With the LA Convention Center ready to revert to the glorious house of games it once was, GameTrailers is also gearing up for 24-hour non-stop coverage. But there are a couple last things to do. First of all, Thursday at 11 p.m. on Spike TV, we have our huge pre-E3 blowout with over a dozen exclusives and game debuts. Don't miss it. And lastly, the GT Countdown is here to prime the E3 pump and deliver the final 10 most anticipated games of the show. To make this list, there has to be either a ton of mystery left, or the game has to be so incredible that we just have to get our hands on it.
Number 10. Kojima Productions announcement.
Master prankster and game designer Hideo Kojima sure loves the spotlight. After a teaser site for his next project popped up, meticulous scrutiny of the first update led fans and critics to concoct a myriad of theories about the title's nature. However, the most recent update features a brief snippet of a rugged big boss donning a beret with the words "Military Without Frontiers" and an odd emblem, fueling fierce speculation that Kojima is busy working on the next iteration of the Metal Gear franchise. But things are never that straightforward with the man who pioneered stealth gameplay, so expect Kojima-san to have a few tricks up his sleeve.
Did you like it?
Number 9. New Valve game.
This next test is impossible.
After unpacking the goodies of 07's Orange Box, we're hoping that 2009 will be the year to unscrew the details behind Valve's next big thing. Portal guns in Episode 3? Or what about zombies ambling around Two Fort? Only hitmaker Gabe Newell and his motley crew of coders know for sure, but one thing's for certain, it's that Valve definitely knows what turns our knobs. Here's to crowbars, and whatever the boys from Bellevue have in store for us at this year's E3.
Ah, ma petit chou-fleur.
Number 8. Bayonetta.
You naughty little angels deserve a good spanking.
Hideki Kamiya, creative director of the original Devil May Cry, has swapped out the white-haired demon slayer for a voluptuous, bespectacled witch. With a pair of 6 shooters in hand and another 2 strapped to her ankles, Bayonetta's arsenal and acrobatic attacks can bring the house down, and at times her clothes. If the gameplay can match its trans-dimensional hair weaponry insanity, then we'll happily supply the Aquanet. We're also holding out for some fine Bayonetta booth babes.
Number 7. BioShock 2.
There's a soothing feel in the return to the underwater metropolis of Rapture, like an ache melting away as the tides turn. Being the Big Daddy is more than a license to practice extreme dentistry on scumbag splicers and atom addicts. There's a sense of righteousness in protecting little sisters, and now a touch of a true nemesis in the thin, agile suit of the Big Sister. Then again, we just can't wait to practice some ingenious depravity with a myriad of new plasmid powers.
Number 6. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves.
Since we first watched Nathan Drake scramble through a war-torn Nepalese city, we hoped Uncharted 2 was going to be something special. We couldn't take our eyes off the stunning lighting, fluid animations, and rich textures. Then, Sony revealed the game's 3-player co-op mode and 10-man multiplayer. What we've seen so far is a mere sliver of what's planned. We can't wait to see Drake's return to the jungle or his ascent to the icy peaks of the Himalayas.
Lucky me.
Number 5. Final Fantasy 13.
This one has been on every list we've made for years, but this should finally be its real coming out party. Thankfully, overseeing the completion of the costume designs in Final Fantasy Versus 13 didn't hold up the zipper-obsessed Tetsuya Nomura from getting out a playable demo of FF13. After spending some time fighting Psycom forces with lightning and snow in the demo, we were left with more questions than answers. Square Enix should bring its prized stallion out of the stables this time. After last year's bombshell announcement, is there another shocker in store for PS3 and 360 fans?
Number 4. God of War 3
is in my blood.
Kratos is preparing to unleash a terrible rage that's been building over the course of a blood-soaked trilogy, and fans can't wait to claim their revenge. God of War 3 has been given the Herculean task of providing a fitting final act to one of the biggest franchises in gaming. Early trailers have little doubt as to the game's incredible sense of scale and ruthless brutality. Watching a trailer is one thing, but wielding Kratos' impressive powers is a whole other story.
Number 3. The next Zelda.
It's hard to believe that it's been nearly 3 years since Twilight Princess was released. Link's last console quest was a masterpiece that used the motion controls in a very elegant way, but it's no secret that it was originally developed for the GameCube. Nintendo has had time to brainstorm, and it teased that the game was in development at last year's E3. Now it's time to give the world its first glimpse of the Hylian hero's next epic adventure, designed from the ground up for Nintendo's latest hardware. We don't expect to see much more than a trailer, but that's plenty good enough for the third spot.
Number 2. Assassin's Creed 2.
The first Assassin's Creed finished with a mindbender, but one thing about its recently announced sequel isn't surprising. It takes place in a different era. This time around, we have a new setting, Venice, and a new yet familiar protagonist in the nobleman cutthroat Ezio. Ubisoft has promised that lots of the original's weak spots will be patched up this time around, and the new setting looks like it'll enable some truly cool scenarios. Toying around with Da Vinci's experiments? Scheming with Machiavelli? Sign us up.
Number 1. Modern Warfare 2.
It's been a steady trickle of information for Modern Warfare 2 over the past month, culminating with a 2-minute opus that appeared the weekend before E3. Judo, riding snowmobiles, underwater gameplay, a lot of mysteries still await for the single player, but everyone knows that it was the multiplayer that made Call of Duty 4 the best-selling third-party game of this generation. What will Infinity Ward do to maintain the series' momentum online? What is fact and what is fiction? The unanswered questions have our minds awhirl, making Modern Warfare 2 our most anticipated game of E309. Don't forget to check out our pre-E3 blowout on Thursday night at 11 p.m. on Spike TV to get a jump on the show and see a ton of new media before anywhere else.